Welcome back to another reading and correcting with me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I read a chapter from one of my stories and correct it as I go. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. And if you are looking to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today, we are doing chapter 19 of The Captain's Heart. Jeremy stopped as the door chimed, standing next to it, arm covered with clothes. He really should ignore it and focus on cleaning, since he finally wanted to do that, instead of thinking of the day with Growler just showing up, putting him on display for that other cat, Earther Kelsirian. That's how bad the day had been. Cleaning forced him not to think about it. So he should leave Omar to stew on the other side, until his pushy friend overrode the lock and let himself in. He pressed the open button with an elbow and turned to the door. "Look, He stared at the Kelsarian standing before him. He nearly told him to go back to their ship, then recognized the melted brown, white, and black fur, along with the long vest and its decorations. He also realized this was the Kelsarian Growler had brought to engineering. If he told the ambassador to go fuck off elsewhere, would he start some sort of interspecies war? Probably not. Can I help you? But better not take chances. Hello, Jeremy. May I come in? He looked at the dirty clothes on his arm, then over his shoulder at the mess that was his room. I'm not really set up for guests. I'm alone. Jeremy stared. You said guests, but I am alone. He chuckled at the misunderstanding and stepped away. It's a figure of speech. He dumped the clothes in the closet. An ambassador had to take priority over laundry. The Kelsarian looked around the room, studying even the ceiling, ears forward, the way he'd noticed Turek did when he was paying attention. I'm sorry about the mess. I can never seem to make the time to clean this place with all the work I have to do. If time is lacking, I am certain your commander will understand taking time away from repairing the Wanderer's reactor to take care of this. Jeremy grabbed the prototyped components. The prototype components from the seat and looked for a place to put them. He settled on the center of his bed. This predates your arrival. He motioned to the cleared seat. It just feels like there's always something more important to do. As if this space did not deserve to be a tidy representation of who you are? I wouldn't go that far. He sat on the end of the bed once the ambassador sat. I'm just busy, that's all. How can I help you? I was hoping you could answer some questions. I'm sure there's someone better than me to answer anything you want to know about us. My questions are about you. Jeremy couldn't quite understand why he'd want to know anything about him, so tried to sidetrack the conversation. Can you tell me your name? I'm sure I was told during the meeting, but his stomach lurched as he remembered those golden eyes peering at him. It is Quertic. He stared. Is that like with Growler? Your name is something unpronounceable for me? Quertic chuckled. It is a shortening, but no. That part of it only contains sounds your voice box can make. It's interesting how even though your voice box is built differently than ours, you can still pronounce just about every sound we make. If you do not wish to answer my question, Jeremy, you only have to say so. It's not that. His hair burns. I just don't understand why. That is quite simple. I noticed your discomfort when I accompanied Growler as he asked for an update on the progress. Jimmy looked at the ceiling. Can't he just let us work in peace? He lowered his eyes to meet the raised fir ridge about above. Keep doing that. Above one of the ambassador's eyes, and his ears burned again. I didn't mean to say that out loud. You don't feel a ship's captain is entitled to be updated on the status of the repairs? Does he really think things are going to change that much in the span of a day? He asks, more forcefully than he intended, as the idea of his presence of Growler's presence made his stomach protest. He grabbed the bottle from the bedside table and dry swallowed a pill. Are you well? I'm fine. Is that not medication? I noticed you took one while Growler spoke with the technician. His name's Turek, not technician. Took a breath to calm himself and hoped the pill would kick in quickly. Stress upsets my stomach. There to deal with that. I apologize if my questions add to your stress. If you wish me to leave, No, it's not you. It's Growler. He's who stresses me out with his constant overing and looking over my shoulder. His stomach protested again as he thought about the strong and tall Kelsirian. Maybe he needed to ask for faster acting pills. Jeremy couldn't tell if Queric looking at the ceiling was him searching for answers or there or hiding an eye roll. And do you react the same way when your superior visits and asks for the status of your work? Jeremy chuckled. Dr. Manuel hardly ever visits my lab. She's content with the reports I file on how my designs are performing under the scientist's test. He swallowed as he realized he might have let something slip he shouldn't have. If the ambassador knew it was him and Amanda designing reactors, him admitting there was more than one design being tested could clue the Kelsirian in on them having enough antimatter to test multiple reactors at the same time. The ambassador nodded to himself. The Turek has mentioned that you sometimes takes a pill multiple times while Growler is there. I told you, having him there stresses me. But is not one pill enough to settle your stress? Did it not do that now? Not really? Jeremy took another breath. Sometimes when he's way closer than he has any business being, one's not enough. Do you have a counselor you can speak with? If the pills are not enough, they may be able to offer an alternative method to deal with the effect of the stress. Jeremy laughed. Oh, I talk with my doctor. Believe me, he insists on it. And what has he suggested? Jeremy shook the pill bottle. I really don't need them that much, usually. It's been a long time since I've relied on them like this to get through a day. And if Growler left them alone, he'd be able to get through the day without needing them. Does he not have access to other methods? It's been pills my entire life to deal with this. The Kelsirians seem to consider him. Would you be open to exploring an alternate method? I'm not like you, he replied, uncomfortable. I doubt that my biology is compatible enough with anything Kelsirians would use. Queric smiled. It is not a method of biology, but of thinking. It originates with the Saladins, not Kelsirians, although it has become an approved method of dealing with emotional imbalance among my people. Actually, you know what? I can actually have that stay there. I thought I'd need to change this line because Jeremy is a fan of movies, and there's plenty of movies with some of the aliens of the Federation. But that doesn't mean there's ever been a movie with a Saladin in it, or that the Saladin would have been identified as such. So I never heard about Saladins before. The ambassador studied him. Is this an attempt on your part not to have to address my proposal? No, of course. He stopped the reflexive denial. I guess it is. I'm not really comfortable with the idea of changing how I think. I apologize for the confusion. This does not lead to a change in how your thoughts occur, but makes use of your ability to think so you can take hold of the disrupting emotion, contain it, if you will, so you can proceed with what you seek to do. You want me to think my stress away? Jeremy asked, dubious. Queric chuckled. The method is more involved than how you voice it. I don't know. I understand. Should you... Wait, I'm not saying no outright, but I'd like to know a little more. I like to understand the process before I adopt it. You are an engineer. He heard the capital letter, but kept himself from asking about it. He thought it was a form of reverence from Turok when he said it, but there was no reason for the ambassador to feel that way. Thoughts are everything we are. Every part of the body has thoughts attached to it. Our mind is the body's operating system, Jeremy agreed. Emotions are a mix of the two. A thought can cause the body to react, your stomach would to feel upset, but the body can cause the mind to react. A pain intense enough engenders thought that lead to steps to avoid a recurrence. Yeah, it's a bilateral system. I still follow. In such a system, one can feed on the other, which leads to what into that feeding back in on itself. A loop that leads to an out of control reaction. Jeremy let out a breath. That's what you think is happening with my stress? Quirk hesitated and again seemed to search the ceiling. Or maybe it was just a reflex when he thought. I cannot know, but the method involves thinking the process to end. There's no way it's that simple. The method is simple, although its execution not as much. It is a method that must be consciously activated and reinforced once it is learned. It is not an automated system, as you might put it, but learning it is easy. What are the downsides? Unwarranted expectations. Many attempt it, believing it will immediately resolve everything. Distraction while once one gets used to noticing the start of the emotion so they can employ the method. Mental fatigue from that constant alertness. And that's it. There are no risks to your health if that is the concern. If this does not work, all you can expect is to have to continue relying on your medication. Although, if you decide to attempt it, it is best if you avoid taking the medication. I have to be able to receive the correct signal so I know when to activate the system. Yes. If the worst he had to rope forward was returning to his pills, was there really a downside? Okay, I'm willing to try it, but I'm curious. Is there some documentation on the method? I'd like to read up on it. It is freely available, as is most Federation non-sensitive data. Jeremy frowned. He wasn't the most in-depth researcher, but he'd expected to have come across something on other species when looking up research paper on antimatter. He couldn't even remember coming across something saying what species were out there. Here I can add that. So the bulk of his knowledge about them came from movies. If I can't find it, can you get it for me? In English, if at all possible? I expect they are available in your language. Now, do you have a container you can hold in your mind? Jeremy stared. You lost me. You said you wish to learn the method. It starts. It starts with having a container you can hold in your mind. Oh, you mean learn it now? He chuckled. I thought you'd have to take me to an office or a classroom. No, as I said, learning it is simple. The work will come after, with you using the method. And when you say holding a container in my mind, that's a visualization? Yes. What are the basic requirements of that container? He asked, looking around for something suitable. It does not have to be real, Queric said. It must be fully enclosable. Something with a lid. His gaze fell on the mess of slid wooden slats on the bedside. I need to find a better way of writing this. Slid wooden slats on the bedside table and grabbed it. How about this? What is it? The ambassador asked, sounding concerned. A puzzle box my mom sent me. It started looking like a normal one, and once I've worked out how to open it, it'll probably look normal-ish. Can you hold it in your mind? I've been trying to open it for days now. I know it quite well. What? He asked as Queric smiled. At Queric's smile. You enjoy being challenged. What makes you say that? You have tools through which you could see the mechanism, and yet you prefer working it out without their assistance. Jeremy shrugged. shrugged. He'd opened this when he was a kid. He figured he'd figure out how to do it again. Then yes, it will do. Close your eyes, settle your breathing. We will start with you holding the box in your mind. Jeremy did so, and with more ease than he'd expected, he saw the box with all the slats poking out of it. That is good. Now, open the box. For a second, he wasn't sure how to do it. Then he simply willed the slats to move until the cover was released, and it lifted up. He peered inside and was disappointed that it was empty. That is the recipient for the troublesome emotions. Can you engender it? His stress? All he had to do was think about. His stomach screamed its complaint as Growler stood on the other side of the box so close. Jeremy thought he could make out emotions in those golden eyes and had to look away at the intensity. Take that feeling. See it as something that you do not care for the shape of. Focus on the words and a form appeared, but it was all around him. It was fluid, like something he could drown in if he didn't. Listen to me, Jeremy. It is not real. It is a fabrication. The only hurt it can cause is the hurt you allow. It is not everything. It is nothing. Nothing was going too far. But he understood what Quirk meant. It was simply a representation of this feeling. It felt bigger than it was, but it wasn't. He needed multiple tries, but he brought it down to a size that fit in his palm. A ball of goo that oozed over his mental hand and tried to slither up his arm. Put it in the box, then close it. It resisted, sticking to his hand, oozing between his fingers as if it was scared of going into the box. But what was that him being scared? Scared of change, of taking a chance? He had lived a rather comfortable life, getting comfortable with his stress instead of investigating ways of dealing with it. Once it was in, the cover lowered itself and the slats moved until he was looking at the box. As he received it a few days ago. That box is a place where the emotion cannot thrive. They will wither and cease to be. It can never be filled. There will always be space when you need to add more to it. Do you understand? He did. It was a four-dimensional construct. Whatever went in would be lost in that higher plane, never to bother him again. Good. Now, this is important. Remember that while you have put this instance of the emotion in, only that instance is gone. Vigilance is your duty now. For the next time the instance will return. You must remember that losing one battle against it does not mean you are losing this quiet war for yourself. It is the intruder. You are the warrior standing at the gate, vigilant for the next attack. Remember, vigilance is your duty. Vigilance. He could do that. He wanted to do that. He wanted to be free of this, of the pills, of the stress. He wanted to be able to look Growler in the eyes the next time he showed up to bother him and tell him what he thought of that, instead of cowering away into the pill. You can open your eyes, Jeremy. He did, and experienced confusion at the mess of slats on his lap. He closed the box, so why? He chuckled. It closed the mental one. The one he'd yet to open this one. How do you feel? I feel good. I was expecting this to take more out of me. No. The next time is when you will feel it, and the time after that, and the next one. Jeremy chuckled. A never-ending battle. One can hope. One can hope that it will have an end, but few wars are quick. I'll remain vigilant. Quirk smiled. I'm glad to hear that. It will be worth it. And that concludes Chapter 19 of The Captain's Heart. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter is going to be up, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read this story, it is up on Ream's Story. And if you are looking to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. Links are in the notes, and with that, I shall wish you a good day.